Hey, I'm Markia. Want to hear something scary? Tricky Treats. Alphonse and his brother Parker lugged their candy-loaded pillowcases through the neighborhood, avoiding the angry parents who had caught on to their scheme. They were too old to be trick-or-treating for the past 2 years and didn't even bother wearing costumes this year. It was the time of night during Halloween where people just left bowls of candy out for kids to help themselves, while they went out for more adult festivities. You were only supposed to take one piece from the bowl, but that didn't matter to Alphonse and Parker. They took everything, which is what led them to the one house everyone avoided. They said Dr. Elfman was some kind of mad scientist, forced into retirement from Big Pharma because she went too far with animal testing. There were even rumors that she was the one responsible for all the pets missing in the neighborhood. No one ever knocked on her door during Halloween or any other time of year because her and her house were far too creepy. And while all of that may have been true, she also had 2 huge untouched bowls of candy on her front porch this year. The boys each took a bowl and poured it into their bag, and then headed to the park to go through their loot. Parker was the first to notice that the candy they got from Dr. Elfman's house didn't look like any candy they had ever seen. Shiny green globes that almost seemed to glow from inside their wrappers. It made Alphonse nervous, and he suggested they have their parents look at the weird candy before they ate it. But Parker just laughed as he unwrapped a piece and popped it into his mouth. Suddenly, Parker started gagging and choking. He grunted for his brother's help and then fell over on the ground and didn't move. Alphonse reached out to help his brother, but he wouldn't respond. Alphonse didn't know what to do. His breathing quickened as he was about to run home for help when suddenly Parker jumped up, laughing. "Trick or treat, sucker," he taunted. Alphonse was mad, but couldn't help but laugh, and ate one of Dr. Elfman's candies too. It was delicious. As the 2 brothers were packing up their spoils to head home, Parker began holding his stomach and screaming in pain. Alphonse thought it was just another prank. That is, until his brother's shirt began to rip and tear. Coarse black hair sprouted from the boy's arms and back. Parker held up both of his hands and stared at them with his now glowing eyes. Both boys watched in absolute terror as claws ripped through Parker's fingertips. The hair now grew in uneven patches all over his body. He could feel his bones and muscles rearranging under the surface of his stretching skin. He looked over at his horrified brother and tried to speak, but all he could do was hiss. Alphonse tried to talk to his brother, who picked himself up off the ground. Parker used to be the shorter one, but he was now a full 2 feet taller, if not more. Alphonse began to back away, but his brother swiped at him with his newly grown claws, slashing deep into Alphonse's skin. The boy kicked at his monstrous twin and tried to push away, but Parker was now much faster and bit hard into Alphonse's leg as he screamed in agony. Finally, Alphonse's hands found something he could use as a weapon, the full to bursting bag of candy, and swung it as hard as he could into Parker's head, distracting him just long enough so he could start running. He could hear the monster behind him getting closer, but it didn't matter. He felt his shirt ripped, and he watched as rough, reddish fur began to grow on his body. He realized he was transforming now too, and looked back at what used to be his brother. He tried to speak, but all he could do was howl. The cat-like Parker hissed at the dog-like Alphonse, and the 2 circled each other. Only one was leaving the park tonight. Alphonse snarled and growled and barreled into his brother. He bit into Parker's arm and shook his head ferociously, refusing to let go. Parker shrieked in pain and dug both claws into his canine brother's flesh. Alphonse yelped and released his hold, crunching low to strike again. But just as he was about to lunge at his brother, something sharp stung him in the neck, and suddenly he didn't feel like eating, only sleeping. His brother closed in for the kill, but didn't make it, as he was also hit with a sharp dart in the neck. Alphonse and Parker both slumped to the ground, and the last thing they saw was Dr. Elfman standing above them with a smirk and her tranquilizer gun. The doctor was so very pleased about her new creations and all the exciting experiments they would perform together. She had hoped the twins wouldn't have been able to resist those bowls of candy. She'd been watching them rampage through the neighborhood every Halloween and set that trap just for them. After all, human subjects were so hard to find.